Oh shit, that's hella funny. Wait, how? But you still have to like buy the packs though, right? Yeah, you just sell the non-good packs. But let's be real. Like, nobody is buying packs on TCG Player, you know what I mean? You buy singles at Target, scan, and give them back with the receipt. I'm pretty sure those sort of things, you can't return cards, can you? I'm like 99% sure, like Target and Walmart and stuff, like when it comes to cards, like all sales final type deal. You could just scan through the blister. Are you telling me that there's a big enough CT scan machine you scan people with? People are bigger than cards? Yeah, but are you telling me that there's like CT machines that are small enough to scan cards type deal? Are you telling me there's man breaking into a fucking hospital? Look up make at home CT machine on YouTube. Oh shit, it's pyrotechnical. Oh, I thought it was a pyrocynical. This is, damn. We've done it. Isn't the blister using some sort of reflecting coating to stop such things? You overestimate how much card game companies value their product. Like, let's look at it from a perspective. Let's look at it from the card game company perspective. There are like 3 stages. There's Konami, and then there's distributors. And these can be like OTSs and OTS, Walmart. So Konami, the only way you can actually get product is through Konami directly. You can't just be like, I'm going to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards and just kind of leave it at that. There's like a separate website specifically just for, there's like a portal. It's like Amazon. It's basically Amazon, except it's only for Konami product, and you can only buy like X amount of stuff from Konami. But the TLDR is you can only buy like sealed Yu-Gi-Oh cards in large quotations from Konami themselves. Like maybe distributors will have this sort of backdoor special in regards to the factories themselves. Like obviously there will be a factory that makes the cards, and obviously if the factory wants to do like some backdoor stuff, they might have a deal directly with the distributors and be like, hey, we're gonna maybe make like 50,000 cases of Infinite Forbidden. We're gonna hold like maybe 3,000 cases just for you, and only send Konami 40,000. And like Konami, once the cards hit the distributors, or Konami can sometimes sell directly to OTSs, but on a much smaller scale. Like OTSs, when one of my friends used to work for an OTS, you couldn't order a certain amount of cards. The best example I could give was for Darkwing Blast. Stores weren't allowed to order more than 2 cases of it just because of like supply issues and store size and a bunch of other like external factors, which Konami kind of does to determine how much product you are allowed to buy. But like the TLDR is like, once it leaves Konami's hands and like their factories, they don't care what happens to the packs, because as long as these packs aren't being sold, it just doesn't matter, because distributors can't reseal boxes. Let's assume you're a distributor or a factory. The factory has the Konami wrapping seal that only they get. So distributors don't have a way to sort of reseal it and treat it as like factory new type deal. So Konami doesn't need to put any like anti-reflective coating or like anti-X-ray coating in order to stop people from CT scanning, because once it's sold and available to the mass public, they don't care. They've already made their profit. Their profit is selling like literal cardboard to distributors, and not in the sense of like, you know, the secondary market. OTSs and distributors and independent vendors. Tasty lead-coated packs. Yum, yum, yum. But yeah, there's just not really much of a point or an incentive for Konami to do such a thing. So like, this is only going to be an issue for the secondary market. And don't expect Konami to ever, you know, have a sort of a long arm of the law in regards to this. Because again, according to like Konami and Wizards of the Coast and stuff like that, they do their best to pretend that like the secondary market does not exist. I mean, there's a reason we have like the clown gas analogy, you know what I mean? If you guys don't know, there's a guy named Kevin Tewart, and I believe he works for Konami, like R&D or something. He works with Konami. I'm not sure like exactly the specific scale, but there's this very funny post where a while ago he was like, single prices are high because some people have deliberately shut themselves off of the primary method of getting cards, because a lot of people in this specific Pojo thread were complaining that it's like, oh, the only way I can realistically pull specific singles or get specific singles for competitive play, think of like Dark Arm Dragon, Malicious, Destiny Draw, blah 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 blah, is by buying singles, and these singles are extremely overpriced due to them being short printed and blah blah blah. And he's like, imagine I have a gas station and all of my gas pumps have clown designs all over them, and I charge $20 a gallon for gas. Meanwhile, the regular gas station down the street is charging regular prices, but I've convinced a bunch of people that are buying my clown gas is the only way to go, so they refuse to buy gas the regular way. They come to Pojo and ask why clown gas is so expensive. If you're unwilling to utilize the standard issue and less expensive method of getting cards, the same methods as used by the people to sell you singles to get their cards, then you're a captive market. And a captive market will be charged whatever price the captor wishes until they realize the folly of their captivity, which is, you know, insane. So obviously the very, 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 very clown-sized element in the room is the fact that you can't just go to a different gas station, or in the sense you can't just buy products. You can't just buy like 100 cases of Infinite Forbidden because A, you don't have the capital, and B, you're overcorrecting your issue of I just need like 3 copies of Fiendsmith. You don't need 100 cases worth in order to pull like 9, 10, 11, 12 playsets of like every single chase card in the set because you're not an OTS. It would kind of be like buying a mining rig in order to refuel your Prius. Like, it's very, very overkill and very, very expensive in the sense where you don't need that much gas or oil or natural resources in order to, you know, just drive your car around. There's just not much of a point. And like, it makes sense for OTS stores to buy, you know, tons and tons and tons and tons of product. But if you are a, you know, just a single person, it doesn't make sense for you to buy a gas station just so you can refill your car. No, you just want like a normal, affordable gas price. And people just want normal, affordable singles prices. But the problem is that Konami very, very does their best to make sure that, you know, only some cars get like 5 cents per gallon and other cars have to pay like 500. Same man that said number 39 Utopia can't be number 39 King of Wishes Hope because Hope is a girl's name. Let me get a shout out to 2013 Konami staff. Just straight sexism. This is a joke, by the way. Don't kill me, Konami. Sorry, but how many boxes does Konami want the average player to buy? Ideally, all of them. In a perfect universe, Konami wants people to treat Yu-Gi-Oh boxes like PlayStation 5s on release. Konami just wants you to break into Best Buys, buy as many PlayStation 5s as your arms can carry, and leave, and realize the PlayStation 5 has no games. But yeah, it's just the Konami ecosystem of how they make money is just very depressing to be on the 4th wave of a consumer. How do I draw a square? There we go. There we go. But like the main reason why it's very, very difficult to afford this game at, you know, just as a normal player is because there are so many factors that go into the pricing of products. You know, just like 90% of the time, it's going to be like this super shitty dice roll. You know, product releases. It's this very shitty cycle of how available products are into, are there delays at like the factory or Konami? And then will there be massive hype from player bases that distributors will take into account? And will OTSs and distributors offload, you know, dead product to Walmart, or will Walmart get it directly from Konami? And then you have to balance like profit incentives and the fact that like some sets are good and some sets are bad. And the consumer, which is, you know, average players, are the people who end up getting shafted at the end of it. I'd actually buy sealed if the products were good. How do I describe it? The products are good in the sense where if you're just very lucky and you can tolerate gambling, it is completely fine to just hold your stomach and be like, fuck it, we're gonna ball. So let's assume that one box of Infinite Forbidden unopened on TCG Player is $75 and you have a $7. Oh, it's Japanese. Okay. And let's assume that the odds of you pulling a card that's gonna make you back the money of the box, because, you know, you're only gonna get 2 secret rares. You've got, you know, Engraver, Molcharmy, and oh my god, there's actually nothing else. Holy shit, there's actually nothing else. You have like White Child and Red Child, and only Molcharmy plus the children, or Molcharmy plus a bad QCR is even going to come together to make up for the cost of a box. So unless you pull exactly an Engraver, there's literally 0 point in you trying to buy a box, you know what I mean? So a lot of players, they buy a box, they're basically rolling the dice on, I am either going to hit a maybe at best like 35% in the sense of a Molcharmy dice roll, or maybe they'll hit a Fiendsmith in the 1 in 5, or, you know, maybe they just super bink it and hit a, not only like a 1 in 5, but a 1 in 4 on pulling a QCR. And by the way, not all QCRs are going to completely make up for the cost of the box, because some QCRs are very cheap and some QCRs are very expensive. Fucking Fiendsmith, which is $250. It is very frustrating to be a player who consumes this game and you're trying to get cards for an event, and it is just impossible to get some because everyone has to buy a Fiendsmith Engraver. Everybody has to buy specific cards at specific times. Everybody everybody has to open like $5 bajillion worth of product. And some OTSs literally just, sometimes they just don't have enough product in order to keep up with consumer demand. Or they don't have enough capital. Because guess what? Yu-Gi-Oh's not exactly the most profitable game to be fucking stocking up on. Just joined. Did you see that Josh bought a Japanese playset of every Rage of the Abyss card for $200? But were they max rarity then? No, exactly. That's like a different thing, a different discussion, in the sense where the card game culture in Japan is very, 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 very different compared to the US. Card game culture in Japan, in terms of like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or whatever, is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer 40k to the US. It is so fucking massive in Japan that they are able to, because they have so many willing consumers and they have like a massive market for it, they are basically able to do the rarity collection special for every single main deck set, because, you know, they're just, because they have so many people who are willing to buy. And once you hit a certain number of people buying your product, no matter what, even if the prices are extremely low, you are still making a profit. It's kind of like Costco in a way, where even if you are only making like a $5, $10, $15 profit, when you're able to recur that expense over like an extremely large period or an extremely large population of people, you are basically guaranteed to make considerable profits. But of course, in North America, let's be real, fucking Yu-Gi-Oh does not exist. In America, like, the card game economy is unfortunately way smaller, and Konami, in order to, you know, make sure that they're reaching that profit quota, they're making stuff like Feedsmith Engraver, a short print, $100 secret rare. I mean, the current model isn't looking too hot for the TCG. It's not, because the game's gonna die. I'm not gonna say like the game's going to die and like everyone's gonna quit and no one's gonna play and there's gonna be a massive boycott. But the game is slowly reaching a point where players are finally starting to act out on the I am actually starting to take a break from Yu-Gi-Oh or leave Yu-Gi-Oh type deal. I mean, sure, there are like a lot of whiny people on Twitter who love to post their shitty little Twitter thread saying like, I'm quitting Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm never playing again as long as Konami sucks the dick of big capital. And, you know, like, you catch them on Master Duel like one day later and it's like, all right, cool. Or you see them on Dueling Book or looking at test. But a lot of people, again, are leaving towards Lorcana. A lot of people are leaving towards Magic the Gathering. And it's less that Yu-Gi-Oh is going to die, but it's more that there is going to be much more player dissatisfaction with the game that will lead to people kind of just leaving the game over time. Have you guys played New World? How many of you guys remember New World? And yes, I am talking about the fucking Amazon Games studio game. New World was the first MMORPG I ever played. I mean, I play like World of Warcraft like a little bit, and I'm like aware of Final Fantasy 14 because yes, in fact, I am a pet. No, I'm kidding. Final Fantasy 14 is so weird because half of the game is just you want to just play anime World of Warcraft, and the other one is I want to have unprecedented amount of E-sex as a Catboy. Is that a colonizer game? Kind of. It's very weird. Don't think too hard about it. One of the big issues of New World was that leveling to a certain degree, as well as certain regions, was just actually impossible in regards to playing as a solo player. The game kind of forces you at around like level 24, 25, 26 to just, you cannot enter this area unless you have a party. And you could even be over leveled and you could be able to enter like a level 19 area as 25, but you would just not be allowed to because the game said no. And if you wanted to like farm XP, you would be forced to play in like level 14, level 15, level 13 areas sometimes. And it would just turn your game into like this super disgustingly boring slog. And you know, a lot of people spoke up about it, and people are just like, and Amazon Game Studios just like, you know, here's a new hammer, I guess, like have fun with that. And this sort of player dissatisfaction causes games to just enter a decline. Like, look at this all-time peak of like almost 1 million players, and then just like, you know, it's now down to like 3, 4, 5,000 people. This isn't to say that like, you know, New World is a dead game, because, you know, there are a dedicated amount of people, maybe around like 10, 20, maybe even like 50,000 people to do actively play New World to some degree. But this isn't saying that New World is, you know, an exactly thriving game. It's a game where only, you know, select people play it. And unfortunately, due to like the company it's owned by, there's not really that much support or that much love given towards the players or that much willingness to give quality of life or anything like that. And does that sound kind of familiar? It's because it does. It's called Konami. Like, look at Master Duel. Like, Master Duel has like a relatively sizable audience, but still, you know, you never want to be at a 10% from your all-time peak. peak, you know? You never want to be at like a 10 to 15% of what your all-time peak for Master Duel is in regards to, you know, your active player base. What's Counter-Strike at? Like, this is a game where I know it's very unfair to say one of the biggest cult classic shooters of all time is a fair comparison for Konami, but let's be real, Konami's like $1 billion Japanese company, and this company was founded in fucking on white people money, I guess. But you can very clearly see in terms of like player retention, there's always like maybe 40, 50, 60% of people, maybe even like 70, 80% in terms of like this, but it's more about 60. I'm doing my math wrong. But you can kind of see how there's this sort of dying games have X amount of like active players or players who are like slowly trailing off over the years. Whereas, you know, games that actually have solid gameplay fundamentals or companies that care about their communities or that sort of deal, they will actually maintain and hold on to their audience. And unfortunately, because of like 5 billion other issues, Konami is just kind of letting the fish out of the bucket, you know what I mean? Like, look at this like giant fall off from like the start of the game. Like, it's not unexpected for a game to have some amount of fall off. It is like very normal for, you know, games like on release to do like extremely well and then they sort of trail off a little bit. But this amount of decline is just not natural in most games. Like 262,000, like sure, maybe you lose like 25% of that, that's fine, sure. Then you lose another 25%, and you lose another 25%, and you lose another 25%. And ever since June of last year, it's been 2 years, 2+ years, and Konami still hasn't broken 100,000 players. And that's, again, mainly because Konami's just like fucked up the ball on this one. Think of like on release Master Duel where we would get ban lists like once every 3 to 4 months. Remember how like awful that was? Where just like after the first ban list, like Drytron and Eldritch and like those fucking decks, like Adamantipator, those things were still the best deck for like 6-9 months. That sort of deal. It was fucking, oh my god. But yeah, that's just like my quick thoughts on how did we get from like CT scanning to the death of Yu-Gi-Oh? That's just me. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know your comments in the section down below. Let me know what your favorite Drytron monster is. Mine is new too. Card's broken. See you guys in the next video.